gut, like, we are not going to be one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. And throughout this year, it's somewhat surreal, but it's, to feel this way. What happened? Sometimes it's fatigue, but you can't really say that. Some of it's maturity because they haven't, been here before, and it could be the old adage, to win, you must first lose. And they haven't really felt that, that defeat. I'm not entirely sure because aside from the bench wasn't really strong yesterday. And I remember it was like 4+ years ago, and Milwaukee had one of the best benches in the league. But the bench play wasn't there yesterday. And he's keeping a tight roster. He's about 8 players. But it wasn't where it needed to be. We need more from Middleton. We need more from Giannis. And you can't expect Brook Lopez to come out like he did in the first game every game. You just can't expect that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. So you being a Bucks fan, I'm sure you probably have a lot to say about this. You talk about that team and the depth chart that they have. One move, and a lot of coaches, it's tough. They can't really make lineup changes in mid playoffs. But what are your thoughts on the whole Bledsoe and Brogdon lineup right now? It doesn't seem like Bledsoe is really, doing anything right now. I mean, I watched him the other day. He looked horrible. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he tried. And Brogdon's looking really good. What are your thoughts about the coach maybe changing the lineup up and getting Brogdon in there as the starter?
Well, he was on limited minutes as he came back, and so that's progressing. And Bledsoe, we saw this in Phoenix, too. He can be a little streaky. He's not Rodney Hood streaky, but he's a little streaky. And they have been closing out the paint a lot, and that is where he shines. Just quick drives. That guy's like a jackrabbit in heat. He is inside. And remember, they've been talking about the wall, and I think and they've been closing up the baselines too, and I think that's part of the reason why, aside from the outside shooting, his ability to get in and get those easy twos, it's not as abundant as it is in the regular season, and that's reflecting in his stats.
Now, from what I've seen in the last 2 games for Milwaukee, is one thing that makes Milwaukee so hard, besides their great starting lineup, is their bench. I think they have a great bench. And I think that, of course, they got outplayed in this last game by Toronto. So, am I naive thinking that it's something as simple as if Milwaukee's bench does what it's been doing all year, this series can get wrapped up quickly? Or am I missing am I missing a bunch of different issues that Milwaukee has that they need to take care of and solve to get to the finals?
But I think we all know that you can look at a roster and you can look at a roster side by side, and that can't predict who's going to win. We see that in super teams. And look, a prime example of a stacked roster. Karl Malone didn't win a championship when he went to the Lakers. So I don't think it's a roster issue. Again, I think it's a maturity issue. They're playing 9 tight, and the Raps are playing 8 tight. Also, and yesterday the bench was outscored 43-21. So where that regard comes, their bench was taken care of, or their bench was handed to their bench. They didn't pull it up. I don't know. I don't exactly know. It's not a roster issue. I think it goes back to maturity and being here before and being there and being in these moments.
Yeah, I think for me, I think looking at the team this year and what they accomplished, the first team with 60 wins in the regular season this year, the number 1 team overall, I think that, that's all good and everything, but I agree with what you're saying. They haven't had that setback. They haven't had that almost there to really make them understand where they're coming from and how to get there and how to be that championship caliber team. That being said, I still think they're going to win this series. I think they're definitely going to win the next game at home. But I guess my next question is, what do you think about Giannis and the season that he had? We talk about him for the MVP. I've said he's my MVP all year long. He's also up for Defensive Player of the Year. As a diehard Bucks fan, tell me, what are your thoughts on that?
Just of the success of the team, or Giannis in particular? Because as we all know, like when we drafted Giannis, that was John Hammond, who's now in Orlando. I mean, he's the guy who drafted Mo Bamba. I mean, so we knew he was gonna go large. I think Giannis, the God has gifted him with the body and the athleticism, but there's something to be said about his determination and his focus, and how I think most important to me and what I've taken out of this whole season is how this team works together. And so Giannis alone, fabulous, wonderful. He could work so well with anyone. But there's a trust. This and I don't mean a trust like I trust you. It's like a brain trust between Middleton, Giannis, and Brogdon. It's the collaborative mindset that I think is really, really propelling them, because we can look at a guy like, with the skills, okay, Anthony Davis or Giannis. It's about who is surrounding that superstar, who is enabling him to succeed, and how he is setting his teammates up for success and how they respond to that. I like to kind of pair that, because Davis has been in the league longer than Giannis, and look at where Giannis is. And it's a testament to the It's a testament to the organization. It's a testament to him, and it's a testament not only to the organization and the culture, but who surrounded him. Because I was worried in this offseason, and even towards the end of the year when they signed guys like Frazier, that the Bucks are going a little small. And you had talked about Brogdon and Bledsoe both being on the court earlier, and I fear that a small Bucks lineup is what's impeding them with Toronto. I think that when they go small, Toronto can shut that down. I think that's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing. And again, Giannis is nearly unstoppable, but when it comes to great defense, he's not. He's a supreme player, but there are teams that the guy doesn't fly.
Yeah.
he's not a superhero. And I think we all need to remember that, because it's Giannis, and I only have wonderful and good things and positive things to say about him. He's done great things for the city of Milwaukee. But it's so much more collaborative, and I think Giannis is the first to say, it's about my team, it's being there because he believes in the we and not the I. That mentality is what got him and them there.
Yeah, he's definitely had a huge surge in his career this season. I knew he'd be a good player in the NBA, but if somebody had told me this kid would be an MVP candidate this year when the season started, I didn't see that at all. And I mean, I say it every podcast. I'll keep on saying it till they lose. As a Golden State Warrior hater, nothing will make me happier to see the Milwaukee Bucks go to the finals and play against Golden State, because I believe they match up really well with the Warriors. But of course, first you have to get past Toronto. So I guess my question for you would be, Jill, if you had to pick just one key to Thursday's game that has to happen for Milwaukee to win, what would you say that key is?
Points distribution.
Okay.
Like everyone needs to step up and put back some points. I think that's what needs to happen. We can't just rely on our big three. That's what it's as simple as everyone has to show up and put some balls in the basket. That's honestly offense. Right. And that's so simple. Well, yeah, the more offense, that's who wins the game. But genuinely, it's ball distribution, and their passing has been excellent, so I don't have an issue with that. But you got the shot, take it. You had mentioned Bledsoe a little bit earlier. There's a hesitancy there. I think we still see that hesitancy with Giannis, but we can't put a team on the backs of Giannis and Chris Middleton. It's everything. It's everyone and it's everything, and it's everyone contributing numbers.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, we know Giannis is going to do. Giannis is averaging almost 23 points per game in this series alone. We know Middleton's, he's going to get his 15 points. But when it comes down to it... We need more from
Middleton, too. We need more from Middleton. He had a really good game last game, but we can't put it all on their backs, but we need them to additionally, pad some numbers. And while in Milwaukee, they've got a good chance of doing that.
Oh, yeah. But what I was going to say was if you go back to game one, Brook Lopez, right? He was that unsung hero. Where'd that come from? They need a Mirotic or a George Hill to have a 20-point game, or somebody else that brings in that second unit.
I mean, a guy like Ilyasova has been contributing. And Ersan, Ersan's been with us for a while. He's a tried and true Buck. And he doesn't fail to show up. And if I could fill the roster with Ersan Ilyasovas, or fill my bench with Ersan Ilyasovas, I would. And, you're not going to get points from the guy, but it's all those little intangibles. And if Ersan had, I think it was 11 the other day. I mean, that's a really good game points-wise for him. But if everyone can contribute like he contributed, I'll take it. I'll take those bench players.
Oh, he definitely... I saw a couple of shots that he knocked down. He definitely knocked down some nice three-pointers in the corner. So you're right. I mean, a player like him or Mirotic definitely got to step up and be that secondary person. So we've talked about the Raptors and the Bucks. Man, just got to get your thoughts. The Warriors, their fifth straight finals. Most since the Boston Celtics went to 10 in a row. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's like a historical thing. I mean, are you just, as a basketball fan, are you just in awe, or are you just kind of along for the ride, or what are your thoughts on that?
You know what put me in awe this year with the Warriors was that the fourth overtime against the Blazers. Or was it that against the Blazers, or was that the Rockets? That's what, that 4 overtime game this year put me, that was against the Rockets. That put me... Blazers against Rockets. That put me. That's where my jaw dropped. Not necessarily the Warriors getting 5 straight. I mean, that's something considerable. But it almost felt like in the 90s we kind of felt like that too, with the exception of, the Bulls had that, and then they had sort of a 2-year reprieve, and then they had it again. So I think it speaks to that organization as a whole. And for Joe's such a Warriors hater, but leading to what I was saying a little bit about earlier about you've got to lose to win. I think the Warriors, they won the first year because they were a superior team, and then the second year losing, they really realized what that defeat felt like. Because the first year they won their championship, the year before they had won 23 games. That's where I give this team credit. And that's where I liken this team a little bit to the Bucks. Because, so that was 5 years ago, right? They had 23 wins. The Bucks, when Larry Drew was the coach, had 17 wins. That was a mere 5 years ago. Okay? And I see parallels there. I see parallels in the organization, how the new owners came in and they shifted the culture. I've said before, the Bucks were on autopilot for years and years and years and years. You're going to tell me that 70% of the people that are cheering Fear the Deer right now, those people were not there 5 years ago. And the same goes for a lot of those Warriors fans. Because I was at those Warriors games 6-7 years ago against the Bucks. And nobody was a fan. Nobody showed up for Warriors games, and it speaks to how winning creates hunger in a city, in an organization, and then that financial hunger also for an organization. I see parallels there, but 5 times. I mean, 5 times. The only thing in my lifetime I can liken it to. Is the Bulls. I think probably the Pistons felt a lot like that in the late 80s, although it wasn't as powerful, but they kept showing up.
Yeah, they did. And those Bulls teams, man, you couldn't stop them.